7 on May 7th. Thank you, Area 58 for filming tonight. Anybody in the audience like to be acknowledged and scheduled at this time? Seeing nobody, moving on. The minutes are also circulating. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read them or not. If they're good to go, we can move to approve them.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Warrants are circulating. School committee correspondence and reports. There was no mail in the mailbox. And I did distribute our town report. Like I said earlier, it's late, but it's in front of you. If you guys just can read it over and tell me like later on if there's anything that needs to be edited or any glaring mistakes that you see. Mostly from you guys, just because make sure I got staffing names right, make sure I described your projects and whatever in the building correctly. I ran it by my 9-year-old, he said it was good to go.
So I don't see the problem. Good.
So yeah, other than that, I don't have anything else to share with you guys. I don't have any unfinished business. Does anyone else? I don't have any new business. Does anyone else? Future agenda items? Okay. So report of standing committees, policy, not met, negotiations, meeting, back.
We just met last Thursday, and everything's going well. Numbers are staying pretty much solid where they are. I believe Halifax currently has 3 kids attending the PAC from Halifax. And they are about to hire a new executive director, and that person will start in November, I believe November 1st. So
Stuck together.
that's pretty much it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Youth and Rec is Linda, so she'll probably give us an update when she gets here.
Great.
PTO is Linda, or are you out?
Nope, it was me this one.
Okay.
We met last Wednesday, Thursday? Anyway, we had a meeting recently. Talked about how great the booster fund went. They ended up putting away, I think rough math was like $22,000 or $23,000, which is great. They've already committed to do booster-thon next year, but it's to be expected that trying to ramp up and amp up everybody every spring is going to peter down over the course of a few years. So they always, even booster-thon people say, don't expect to maintain that sort of donation level. They are working. Sarah Nobles is one of the PTO PTO regular attendees. She's very involved in the Hops for Hops. So they started working on playground planning. One of the questions that came up in the PTO meeting, which I had to answer for, is who owns or what entity owns the playground down by the tennis courts? Okay, I don't know about
That's schools.
Is it schools?
Yeah.
Okay. Another hot button item was the first graders, I guess 3 out of the 4 or 2 out of the 4 classrooms have tables now instead of desks and chairs. So a couple of the teachers had asked for the PTO to purchase some seat back organizers, because when they went to tables, they lost the storage of the desk. So the PTO, kind of everybody looked at me and was like, well, why do only some of them have desks, and where did the desks come from? I said, I don't know, I'll try to get you guys answers. So I wasn't sure if that was something that was done on purpose or just kind of worked out that way, or?
It was just, there's 2 classes that have 2 out of the 4 that are using trapezoid tables.
Okay.
They just looked at it as a different approach to managing a classroom.
So was that the teacher's call?
Yes.
Okay.
They have them in kindergarten, and they felt like it was an easier transition. They wanted to try it out this year.
Okay.
So I think it was Mrs. Brenner and Mrs. Benton that started.
Okay. Because now they were the 2 teachers then that said, we lost all our storage, now we need storage. So the PTO, the PTO is kind of looking at us like, well, is this are you going to do their other ones next year? Or I said, this is the first I've heard of it. I'll try to ferret out where we're at.
We can,
I guess, so what it boils down to is the chair organizers are like really expensive.
It depends on the teacher too, how they organize their classroom.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
How we set up
Yep.
and stuff like that. I'm sure there's not a, direct need. It's not totally essential, but maybe it's a wish list, I don't know.
and we can kick that back a little bit on the classroom teachers, because that is part of management of going away from a desk approach, which
Right.
they do in the upper grades, but they do have to manage supplies and books and materials, and we pitched it to them that if you go this route, then you do what you can. You've got to have a system for all these other pieces that play into it. So
Okay.
I hold off on
Okay, so I'm just going to go back
seat
and
that organizer.
yeah, let them know that you guys are going to talk to the teachers. It was their call, and probably pump the brakes for now. Okay. They have elections coming up. Desperate for volunteers. There's not a whole heck of a lot else to say.
Okay,
So
thank you. Capital budget, we're done with budgets for now. Thank you.
Yay.
So building and safety, kind of absolved, is that the right word? Dissolved, that's all. Do you want to, oh, you want to talk about it over here? Okay, I see. All right, that's okay. Yeah, so we'll pause that discussion. Admin review. Union 31, no meeting. Mr. Beaudry, you're up already. We're getting really good at this.
I like it. I like it a lot.
You'll never break it.
Feed it out before dark. I'm really gonna like it.
So we're staying strong with the current enrollment at 600 more students.
We talked about this.
During fifth grade, we took part.
Right.
It was voluntary, and I believe every student participated.
Yeah, I think we have
They
100%.
wanted to
100%.
voice their opinion, I guess.
Yeah, I think my school has 100%. We've never heard of anybody not taking it.
really,
And you can
But
look
we're
at
all
last
parents
year's
notified.
tests.
That's-
Or
I don't believe so. When I brought up when I brought up to them that
Right.
this committee had concerns about it, my principal and the woman who runs our MCAS, who is our guidance counselor, was surprised. She said, "Oh, most people don't even know that it's even there. It's just something we
make
do."
it right.
No, I'm just saying that so they never had a problem.
It's
you know?
kind of the issue though,
Yeah.
is like backdooring. You know, it's like you kind of feel like you're sneaking this in. You know.
I guess I don't know if they look at it like that.
No. A parent, as a parent. Like
No,
some
yeah, I
parents,
get your feeling,
You know.
feeling that way as a parent, but I think the DESE, I don't think they look at it as they're trying to backdoor it. I think they're looking at it like, this is just one more way, you know what I mean? We'll attach it on the end. I think if they really wanted to do something more with it, they would make every student take it after the MCAS, not just 5th, 8th, and 10th.
they're mandating what we pay for lunch. You don't think they'd mandate that they would take a survey?
No, but I just disagree that
It's a good
they're
point.
always on the up and up. Just one example, I've been opting out of my kids out of MCAS, and I was told that it was illegal to do so. And I've had other friends who, that's basically what they tell the principals to say. And it's not illegal. I didn't get arrested, my kids didn't get penalized. It's illegal for them not to give the test. So they're doing that bullying thing. And then, so I get the thing in the mail, why did I get this? He opted out, and it said absent. And I called the department and said, there's a mistake, he was marked absent, he wasn't absent, he was opted out. Oh, we don't write that down. Like, you don't keep track of refusals versus being sick? We don't write it down because we don't want people to know it's an option, was his exact words. So the Department of Education does not want people to know that that's an option. It's only a graduation requirement for 10th grade. That's the only MCAS you need to do to graduate. But they're misleading the public, and that's just one example in my personal experience. And then he was proud to say, we had less opt-outs last year. I said, yeah, oh, you're keeping track of them now? And wait a minute, you just said you weren't. And secondly, you changed the name from Park, which was very unpopular, to NCAS 2.0. Most people think we're back to NCAS. That's why there wasn't any opt-outs. So that's just one example of them. I trust everybody in here. I don't trust the people at the Department of Education. That's just one example of, I think, very misleading. Ms. Lowry wants to speak.
Can I say something?
Mm-hmm.
So I was here
Because
for
I'm
the
not loud enough.
yeah, I was here for the discussion last year, when I had a fifth grader in school, and I'm speaking as a parent. I was very much for giving the survey, for a variety of reasons. My opinion hasn't changed. I completely understand the fear of privacy and data mining our children that are minors, that don't necessarily understand the complexities of the information they're sharing. But we all are adults of these children, and the sentiment I shared last year, which was, thank you committee for doing your research, let the parents make the decision stands. I think that when you take that right away from the parents, it just, you're overreaching your authority as a school committee member. Again, this is my perspective as a parent. You know, it hasn't changed. I think that it's interesting that you had a conversation about security and kids' willingness to talk to teachers, and I have full confidence that this school is a safe environment for the kids, and you guys do everything you can to make it a safe environment. What if there's one kid that has a unique circumstances, and in today's society, a lot of stuff has transpired since this conversation happened last year, in terms of school security and emotional wellness of children. What if there's one kid out there that's his cry for help? And even if it comes back as aggregate data, it's still a good information to have. It's a good safety net to have. That doesn't change. I totally respect the data mining and privacy concerns. I respect your skepticism for the DESE. I don't think that they're always above board. I think that they are an agency that looks to protect their agency. Okay? So I get that. Just give the right to the parents. Let us decide. That's what I'm asking for.
Can I ask how, is it all email now that you interact with your parents? Or do you do hard copies?
We do hard copies to the families that request them.
Okay, so if an email goes out to everybody, there's just a few people who ask for the paper and the other people get it. That's, like I said, that's my biggest concern, I know with my business, of people not getting the information so people don't know about it. That's another one of my concerns.
In the beginning of the year, they send out a card, and if parents don't have email, they request a hard
Okay,
copy.
just
So we
request,
know,
yeah.
we know how to get hold of people.
But I just
It's a
think
pretty
that-
small amount
Like
of
I said, that
people.
most of the people getting the emails aren't reading everything.
But again, that's on them.
That's right, that's a,
That means that we've done and Ryan Kane and Joy, Jill, whomever, have all done due diligence to make sure that these parents have the information that they need. What they do with it is out of our hands.
So I make a motion that we do reach out to parents, but I really want them to understand what it is, because I feel like the Department of Education doesn't always explain it, that it is social emotional learning, that they're assessing mental health as well as school climate, yada, yada, yada. And not just, we're doing a survey. You know what I'm saying? So parents will understand, but they don't give you any guidance as to what to tell people, do they? They don't say, here's your template for what to tell the parents.
They
I'd have
have,
to look at the manual and see.
Yeah.
I mean, they have the website, which is all,
Which is horrible.
well, did you look at the one that's, it was like frequently asked questions about it?
Mm.
And I thought that they did a good job explaining, it was all questions that I would have asked, like,
actually, we
where
could
does this
include that link.
information go?
We could include that link.
Yeah, where does this information go? Where do these questions come from? That's where I got that information
And I
about.
don't know if they've updated it. She sent me the surveys directly. Like originally, it said she gave me the link, and it gave me last year's questions with some of this year's facts. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if this year's surveys are updated.
They're not going to release this year's surveys if they do. You're not listening.
No.
It's supposed to say $5.99.
So, okay.
Did we gain children from last month?
was at 6:03, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it
it was like
was,
so very
I think it was, I think what we did.
They wandered into the wrong school, we kept them.
So my kids and somebody else's were dropping out. That's
And just be aware that our outgoing sixth grade is small,
Small.
Yeah.
and our last two kindergarten
Kindergartens have
classes
been
have been big. So,
When
Sounds
do
like
we,
we're
when
just.
do we first get an idea from the town clerk on what is this, from census?
the census really isn't very accurate.
So bad, right? They told us like 66 last year, and we ended up with like 96.
But we've already had registration.
So they're registering now, so we have the screening coming up, so.
I think we're at, yeah, getting on to kindergarten screening. I think right now we're at 72 registered, so let's hope
Okay,
everyone's
so we'll probably get
responsible,
90.
registered early.
Yeah.
Like Kane said, we've had a couple of high years. Yeah. Plus 90, both K and 1 this year. We got a small sixth grade going on, so let's cross our fingers and hope everyone registered already to keep us at about 80 hopefully. But we have screenings May 11th and May 18th. Something Kane and I have done differently in the last couple of years is to keep the kindergarten teachers in the classroom for screening where they need to be. We have a screening team set up. Parents registered through pick a time, like we did in conferences, so it seems like that has been very successful in here too, so. Screening will take place on the 11th and the 18th.
And we had our kindergarten orientation, the first week in April, or second week in April. So we had a really good turnout. It's, we're opening up to families of incoming kindergartners. We tell them what kindergarten is all about. We have a meeting team. Brian and I do our little spiel. And then we also have school psychologist, our adjustment counselor, and our special ed teachers there. So it's a good kind of Q&A at the end after we do our mini presentation about what to expect in the next upcoming months. And then kindergarten, the team itself, they do a PowerPoint and they just kind of a day in the life of a kindergartner. And then at the end, we just kind of answer questions about everything from buses to snacks to bathrooms to curriculum, you name it. Kind of answer all sorts of questions. So it's a pretty good night. It was successful. Progress reports actually went home today.
Oh, funny, I missed that.
So we bumped it back a week. We agreed at the elementary level for the district that it was supposed to go home on April 30th, and we just bumped it back a week with all the snow days that we have. Let us know if you have any questions. And those are still paper-based. Those, we don't send those out electronically.
MCAS ELA testing took place in April. We're on to math testing starting today. This week we'll be testing with grades 5 and 6. Next week we will be testing with grades 4 and 3, and then we'll finish off with science testing that third week. But thanks to Melissa Farrell, who did some training to the teachers. Everything has been great so far. Thanks to the tech team, who made sure that our infrastructure we're good to go. So all's good so far.
It's great to see too that everything is electronic now, so if anyone has any issues, that you have this whole team. Brian runs it up, and we see the emails that come through on the help desk, or Tim Ferrazini, he also comes in, and Steve Pello, and Melissa Farrell, so it's really a joint team effort to kind of address any needs. If somebody's missing headphones, we have to run to that room and go grab the person some headphones, but or address any kind of password. It really is a great team effort. It streamlines the whole process. It's been great.
Even in year 2, it's seamless now, even the students taking the test. It's just they seem to like it, enjoy it, and they seem to be
You'll only
becoming
get
more
more
efficient,
comfortable.
even in year 2 than year 1, so it's
Yeah.
good.
We'll come to a point where only the third grade won't know how to do it. That's what's cool, yeah.
Next two are actually recognizing all the hard work that PTO does for the school, the students. I'll start with this PTO staff appreciation on Friday, May 4th. PTO did a huge luncheon for the staff here in the building. It had a May the 4th theme to it. Jill, you appreciate that Star Wars going on. So, our student council piggybacked on that, and so we encouraged students to come in dressed up in Star Wars gear, and the staff room was decorated up in all Star Wars paraphernalia. Brian and I had lightsabers and welcoming students in front.
Who was the good guy?
That's always how it goes.
Yeah, right?
Exactly.
But it was fun. It was good. And a lot of students came in with costumes on. You could really see who the Star Wars fanatics were. But it was a great day. Lots of great food. And just we wanted to thank the PTO. And also we had on Friday, April 27th, the PTO also was organizing the Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? And although Brian and I weren't in attendance, but we were the recipients of some really good roasting from Mr. Jonathan Seelig. I don't know if anyone has had an opportunity to see these wonderful photos that Mr. Seelig had shared. The staff.
Star Wars ones?
It was actually a whole slew. It was Brian and I were photoshopped into the Titanic. Brian and I.
Kate Winslet.
Kate Winslet. There was.
They were pretty good.
There was another one of Step Brothers. So Jonathan basically took the covers of the movies and photoshopped our faces in there. So I don't know if we can share them.
So what I'm hearing is we need that poster machine now.
It's Brian and I with Step Brothers, and then
Dumb and Dumber.
and then there was Dumb and Dumber. I think that might have.
Did he throw in the picture of himself when he dressed as you for Halloween? Because that was classic.
No, but he was in a tuxedo with.
Do that.
Right, they're not going to give anybody the surveys.
That's why it's not
Oh, I
public.
thought they let parents look at it.
I think if a parent elects to get email correspondence from the school and then voluntarily doesn't read the email, then they're not the type of parent that's going to sit down and talk to their kids about a survey anyway.
Yeah, that's like my point.
So that we've done our due diligence.
Right.
Well, but then the 2017 ones are on there, and I think they're pretty similar too, so.
So when are they taking this as end of May?
I think it's the 21st and 22nd of May.
Yeah.
It was for the science, grade 5. So that would be the time.
Okay.
I mean, if we sent that to parents, if you sent that out to parents and gave them the opportunity to say, no, I don't want my child to take this survey, would that be a logistical nightmare?
That's a good point.
Or could you send in a note with your child the day of?
Or just tell the child not to take it.
Or
Well, and
just, that's the thing, I mean, you could just
They're
say,
fifth grade and
if,
they're not.
yeah, they're not 5.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean,
Right.
Anything can happen. It's only one grade level.
right.
Yeah, I
Right,
mean,
so you're only
I don't
talking
know
about
about other people's children, but like if I tell my kid, you're not doing this today.
Right.
Sit, whatever, they usually listen. I mean,
But
they're in
some kids
elementary
don't want to
school.
go against the teacher either, so the teacher really should reach out and tell the teacher. Parents
I
should let the
think
teacher know.
as a parent, if I knew that my child was defiant in that way, I would email the teacher directly and say, hey, you know what, Mrs. Brenner or whomever, like, I really don't want my child taking this survey. Can you please make sure that after he finishes his science MCAS that he clicks submit and goes and reads a book or whatever they're doing for the rest of the day.
Goes to recess and
Our job isn't to protect families from deceptive children.
Right.
Yeah. But I think that, to your and Lori's, to everybody's point, I think as long as we put the information out there to the parents and I think that our job ends there.
I agree.
I agree.
Are you comfortable sending an email to the 5th grade parents and letting them know that this is what's
Easy.
going on? And
Yep.
Make sure
Easy.
it's
So,
And we'll include it.
optionals
And we'll include
do
the
you
specific links,
questions
we'll
that
include
are
the links that.
I don't think she finished her motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just asked you to repeat your motion.
Oh, not the question.
No, the motion.
Okay, that's good.
And then the parents are gonna turn around and say, well, what's in it?
Well, they.
The frequently asked questions actually is pretty informative.
That's where I got, yeah.
You could do the link and they could look at 2007, but I would explain that to them because they could be looking for 2018. I would say 2017 is very simple.
It's just very, it's very generic, it's not specific to the questionnaire.
What's that?
I think you're thinking people are going to look at things a lot more in-depth than they are. Yeah. You might.
Well, it's not, I mean, Keen is a pretty open guy, and I think if any parent bounced back and said,
If they had
can you tell me
questions.
some more
Yeah.
about this, then he would respond to them.
Right, but you can just do the link, yeah.
No problem. Yes.
I forget where I just started.
Yes, start over.
I motion that the school reaches out to all the fifth grade parents to explain to them that the survey is optional and what the survey is for, make sure it includes social emotional learning, assessing mental health, assessing school climate,
Can
etc.
I stop?
Yep.
Can I just suggest that we include a link to frequently asked questions because you're putting terminology on it that I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm just.
But I mean, if you're making it as a motion, you're telling him he needs to
Write
include
those
those words.
words.
And I'm not sure
Oh,
that's what
okay.
you mean to do. So if I could suggest that Kane send out an email blast. You got this, Lori? That Kane will send out an email blast to all fifth grade parents, including a link to frequently asked questions that will explain what the survey is. Would that be okay?
Yep, I was just seeing if I had it. Oh, sorry. Okay. Do I have to start again?
No, I think if that's okay, you can say ditto.
Yes. What she said. And do you know what your open rate is, by the way? What your click rate is for your email?
I don't.
How do you send mass emails out? What's the?
It's now we use SwiftReach.
Yeah, and we can check and see what.
They probably have similar metrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say a second?
Second.
Just totally
Second.
curious, because like I said, until I started using MailChimp, I assumed 98% of my people were reading it. It's not.
I mean, we can also Facebook it as well. So I find that we usually get more people with Facebook.
Yeah.
When I started,
You could even
That
just,
says a lot.
you can even just say, check your email, we sent an
Yeah.
email, check
That,
your email.
and it also
fifth grade
provides a
parents,
forum
check
for
your email.
parents to have a discussion about it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, it's almost dark, so we're gonna wrap this up.
Excellent. So, thank you for your time
Sorry,
with us.
really?
Yeah. You really, I mean, you're holding up the cake. Let's get our priorities straight.
and I just wanted to thank all of the teachers and administration at the school, because my kids are doing awesome at the middle and high school. Ethan was on an IEP, he was on honor roll last year without any help. My daughter is in honors classes with a 5-point-something grade average, because she's,
Get that.
yeah, and she's all yeah, I know, I didn't either.
That was out of the full thing.
So yeah, so my kids are doing great, and I know a lot of it's because of the start they got from the elementary school, so.
Look at the cake and go.
So thanks to all the teachers and administration.
Thank you.
We get to cut. Who wants the roses?
You.
Oh, good luck to everybody running, I forgot to
Thank you.
say that.
And that is from our students up at the high school, our culinary program, so they're absolutely delicious.
Oh, that was, yeah.
Oh, they did a beautiful job.
All right, who's getting first piece? Who?
You.
No.
Fried cuts the cake, right?
I won't like this thing ever.
You are
Yeah.
So before we adjourn to eat cake, I just want to tell everybody the dates to remember. May 14th is Halifax Town Meeting. You all better be there.
It's also my birthday.
Oh,
So-
what better way to spend your birthday?
Exactly what I want to do, so.
May 19th is the town elections. Alex and myself are running. Linda is not running again.
That's what she gets, cake.
And there's be one open seat, so we'll see how that goes. I'm sure we'll all be seeing each other in June. May 28th is Memorial Day. I don't know what day, Monday? No school?
Monday.
No school.
Yeah.
May 31st is an early release, kindergarten through grade 6.
Like a scarf on, and his name for the night was Bane Codry. So He really
And
did.
then I had a uniform, it was like a toddler size 2 uniform with an age, so and ties.
So we'll send some pictures your way. You can't share them.
Yeah.
We've been trying to like burn all the photos.
I have them.
Jonathan, he's had a lot of fun.
You'll have these little black bands across their eyes.
Really. It's, yeah, they're pretty embarrassing. But we want to thank PTO.
Make Parker.
Yes,
Man.
Nate Parker did share that. Shared that with a lot of people that we were hoping not to get that. The building project actually started this last week on May 1st. And you can see the trucks out on the side by parent pickup and drop off. It starts with after school from 3 to 9. Because right now they're just setting up and dropping off materials and getting going. So Lamry Construction seems like they're ready to go. They've shared the construction schedule with us. They seem on board and trying to get things done as early as possible. So we're excited to work with them and get things going.
Are we gonna have any makeup snow days, or are we on schedule?
We're scheduled to end on Friday the 22nd.
So they've been great,
Yeah.
just to work with in terms of, it's a little tight on the side, but it's all fenced off. We had the fire department over here so that they could make sure that they could swing their trucks down through the bottom and then make the swing up top. So it is appropriate for them to get their giant truck in and through the yard there.
It doesn't affect drop off and pick up.
It does, no, it definitely does. I mean, it's tighter.
Yeah.
It's a little
I
bit-
dropped off this morning and it was fun. I
It's-
never rip off, so I have no idea, but.
Everybody's
Fine.
aware now, I think, that
Yeah.
it's similar to what we had with the roof, it's just a little bit tighter, but our staff that's over there is well aware of what's going on, so they're making sure that the lines are
Yeah.
moving quickly,
They were doing that.
trying to keep parents informed of what's going on, so.
But their timeline, looking at, the meeting, they're pretty organized, so they've got everything detailed out every single day in the summer, so it looks like they're good to go. And they know exactly on what day they're gonna be working on what side of the building, so.
Great.
So
Which makes it nice.
Yeah, right.
so hopefully no setbacks.
Didn't do a big fire suppression.
Yeah,
Shall I?
Sure.
And
while we're on the topic.
Yeah.
in terms of.
I don't think it's been, like, we've talked about it in the meeting set, that it's what's going on with it.
And so the fire suppression right now is put on hold as we didn't have any qualifying bids. So that is something that we'll be looking at for next summer. So this summer, which may be a blessing in disguise, believe it or not, because to have the windows, doors inside.
What's qualifying bid?
There were no bids.
Yeah, no, no, it's-
They did,
So
not
to-
only did they not qualify, zero applied.
What was the bid date?
They,
Yeah, that's
no, April.
way too late.
April 15th. I think that
I
was.
almost think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
promise you, if we stick to an April bid date, you're gonna have the same result next year.
So we should be looking for bids
They're
now.
going,
Not
they're
that I-
going to put them out in next fall.
Okay, great. The only
End of
problem,
Summer, fall.
the only problem we're gonna have, if that's the case, is the Trump steel tariffs, and a lot of the sprinkler system is steel pipe, have made the price of steel almost as volatile as copper. So we've seen, and I do mechanical work, but we've seen like 20 and 30% price increases in steel. So it's gonna be hard for a contractor who bids a job in November to keep the same price in June or May. That being said, it's a snafu, because you also can't wait until April or May, because companies that are qualified to do this type of job are bidding summer projects in the wintertime.
Right.
So I'm not surprised that that would
They have
happen.
to use steel too?
There's probably other options. I don't do sprinkler work every day. But where I think that part of the building was already sprinkled or in time to that, there's definitely gonna be a lot of more.
Let's do that.
And even things you don't think about, like the pipes are held in the ceiling with threaded rod. With a long piece of rod,
Oh,
just
yeah.
threads on, like really long bolts.
What do they call
threaded rod.
it? I think it's-
Yeah, and it's like rebar, it's in concrete, but it's threaded.
Yes.
And all that steel, the nuts, the hangers, everything. So, yeah, that's my take.
So hopefully,
Sorry.
we'll do. No,
Thanks for
I
bringing
think
it
it,
up.
the same sentiment when it went out. I think it was. I thought it was, going to be reversed in terms of when they were going to bid. But it is a tight timeline. In the summertime, it's 10 weeks.
Yeah.
It's a quick turnaround.
But you're right, maybe it is a blessing in disguise. I think the price doesn't go up.
Steel will go back down.
Yeah.
And then the last is just handbook revisions. It's that time of year where we look at our parent-student handbook and kind of look to kind of tweak some items in there that we feel that are necessary, or just regular updates. And also with Jill doing the coordinated program review, we had to make sure some of our policies have been updated as well. So I have some copies here that we made changes in red for you to review. And then we can take a look at it if you agree.
Normally what we try to do is give you a month to review it and then vote it in June. So he has time to go out with the, want to talk about school lunch?
Yes, oh yeah, that's one of the highlights in here, is the school lunch. It does, it is up from, this year it's at $2.80, and next year the proposal is that it will go up to $3 next year.
What was it last year? Remember?
$2.80. Oh, the year before?
I think it was 280 for 2.
I think it was $2.70, no, was it $2.70?
I remember when we had
It was
that,
$275.
$2.75.
Yep.
but at that time, it had been a while since the
Yes.
last increase.
Yes.
It was $275 for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And I think $3 is similar to the other.
Right, we're gonna have to go up to 3 for all of them. There's a lunch equity tool that we have to go through, and the government
Are dismissed at 12:45. I'm assuming they get lunch that day. 'Cause It's a
Yes.
late dismissal. June 4th is our next school committee meeting at 6 p.m. And May 20th is the 5K, the hops. So that's it. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Sure.
The little skinny ones.
Did you guys, wasn't that small? You take that?
Oh, that's fine.
You can give that to Summer, she wanted little. You want bigger? I did bigger.
I'll take a 45-degree slice.
I said my kid.
Insists that the price of lunch, what's the easiest way of saying it? That free and reduced lunch don't fund the lunch programs, so that there's a certain reimbursement that the government gives for free and reduced lunch, and that they have to have people who pay the full price aren't subsidized by free and reduced lunch, if that makes any sense.
So it's a calculator too that you look at
Yeah,
every year.
and
see
you-
your
and we actually have to fill it out.
Is that like a percent of quantity of reduced lunch versus overall consumption? or-
I'm not sure it changes as much because Halifax actually has a higher free and reduced lunch percentage than I believe Kingston does, but Kingston has to go up to the same amount. They set a price of $2.90.
292, I think is where they were coming in with using the tool
And-
to help them set the price.
Right, for 17, 18, but I think they already know it's going to be
It's gonna
$2.96.
be a little higher, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's dictated statewide, not
Yes.
It's federal, it's
It's a federal.
a
federal.
federal
It's a
body.
federal regulation on using this tool to compute your lunch prices, and as Joe had mentioned, so that free and reduced lunch aren't subsidizing the paid lunches.
Right, which is sort of ridiculous, but, so anyway, we will need to increase it to $3, and that is a school committee vote. Kingston was lower than it and actually was cited in their audit. They just went through an audit last year, and we were actually cited for not charging enough for
We don't
lunch,
really
so.
have a choice.
Well, there is no choice now, that I'm aware of. They will find you. So,
Which kind of stinks, because my initial knee-jerk reaction was, that's unaffordable.
yeah, $15 a week is a lot of money for a
For one
child.
kid, you know, you have like 2, 3 kids.
Well, also the fact that, again, the federal government gives us 10% of our budget, and that they tell us all these
Yeah,
things we
yeah.
have to do.
Not to mention the fee that they charge you to put money on a car, which that's a whole different discussion.
Right.
Really
I
grinds
don't-
my gears.
So I don't really understand that. So that was the choice that the school committee made, I think the year before I got on, is we chose to use that program, right? The online.
My School Bus.
My school.
My school bus.
My school bus, yeah. So did the school committee at the time voted to use that program?
Yeah.
So do we know if we have other options in that area?
Is there a fee to put money on that?
There is, so I don't do it, I send a check in because I
Yeah.
like fundamentally am against
I learned that.
paying the
actually,
price of lunch to
Yeah.
put lunch money on the
It's
card.
like $2.65 or something like that.
To
Every
even
time you
upload
put money on each card.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, and I really have an issue with that.
But that's
So-
separate with this,
because-
right?
so that's a
We
lunch.
still have to have, no matter what we use, we have to have this price of $3.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is a whole, this is something.
No, I wouldn't.
So, but if you send in a check or cash, it goes right
If
on?
I send it, T-bone with the check to
Yeah.
the office, then it goes right on. If I send a check for $20, then it's $20 he has for lunch money. If I
That's
try
awesome.
to, if I try to do
Someone
it
told me that.
online,
I didn't know that.
it
Yeah.
costs me the
Oh, it
price
makes
of
me
a
so
lunch
angry.
to put money on
I
as
get
part of the
unreasonably
lunch.
angry about it.
All right.
I have straight
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah, it's like a fee.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, I had no idea, sorry.
I
Every
only put
time-
$35 on each time because I can't afford one that 3 kids.
Well,
but-
exactly.
But if you put
Actually, you know what?
$20 worth on it once, it would be the
I
same.
have
A
to-
lot of families can't do that.
I think I'm
Like,
about to go in
can't
the
do
negative.
that.
I'll do it right now. We'll
So I
find
give
out.
T-Bone a check for $20 every couple of weeks because, like Alex is saying, he'll give his kids $35.
Like 35 is one of the preset denominations on the website,
Mm.
and then it's like 70 and 100. I'm like, I can't, $35 for 3 kids. I can't swing more than 100 at a time.
Sure.
So I usually do that, but I'm gonna log in right now and we'll find out.
That's interesting. I didn't know they were charged.
One of
Yeah,
mine.
so I didn't know if we had another.
Fee also?
Look at that.
We do, but there are
He went to
other
minus 70
reasons
cents
on there.
today.
Aw.
Every time.
They all charge a fee.
I gotta make the money.
Do all.
Yeah, and it has to be some way to make one.
No, I have no idea, I didn't even know we had the program.
So in terms of the handbook, I can send it to you electronically or give you hard copies.
I think we already forwarded the electronic version, but would you like hard copies or if you already?
Electronic's fine.
Yeah.
No, electronic.
No, but
Does it say do not drop your kid off before age 18?
It does. But we put that in before. I think the major changes in here, we are recommending a little tweak in the absences and the process for that. I think we were, just the numbers that we had before, I think we were at 7, 12, 18. And so we just tweak those numbers a little bit.
So what happens after those amount of absences?
Yes.
The parent gets an email after so many absences, that kind of thing?
Yes, so we'd like you to take a look at it and see
Okay.
what you think about what we're proposing. It's really just,
in the electronic copy, the red, it'll still come
it's
up
the
red.
red, yeah, it definitely just shows you there.
Perfect.
In red. What else do we have in here? It was mainly just the attendance. We actually are looking at the dress code. It's, it's almost more geared towards the females than it is towards
It's
the
always
girls.
sexist dress.
It kind of is, so we're actually, it's highlighted in yellow in here, but we're looking to tweak it as, yeah, to male administrators looking at it, but we definitely do feel it needs to be tweaked a little bit, so we're working towards that.
You have any specific issues?
No, it's just, it says, children are expected to wear appropriate school attire, halters, tank tops, short shorts, short skirts, or other types of incomplete shirts or blouses are not to be worn. So I think it's,
Up to interpretation.
it really is, it is.
So boys can't wear tank tops, like they can't wear a Celtics tank top jersey?
I didn't know that. I know I do wear tank tops sometimes.
So it's something that we could take a look
What's
at.
the
It's been in there for
purpose?
hair coloring is also discouraged.
No way.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's how I
They
get my
said
kid
that
not to
too.
dye her hair when all her friends are doing it. Like, great school dress code, can't do it.
Really?
There's
Yeah.
a lot of students.
They do it
Yeah, they come to
but
school and they've got green hair.
That-
Good point.
Those are points when parents email us or call, it's the tank top, it's the hair color.
I'm sorry, would you, I
It's,
didn't
it's
hear you.
when parents call or email us and they have questions and they look in the handbook, my daughter can't wear a tank top.
Yeah, so that's usually.
My daughter
the
can't
tank-
color their hair, they can't have freedom of expression, so.
But what is the purpose behind the no color?
I think that's.
It's just-
in there.
I didn't make it up.
That's what it is, I think it's just.
Probably
in there,
distraction.
so-
Just looking to maybe possibly revise it.
But it's probably one in every 4.
Yeah.
And
But
the
I like
upper
how it
grade
says with the hair coloring is discouraged, it doesn't say,
Right.
You're not allowed.
you can't come to school if you have different color hair. You know, I like that part of it,
But what- I
because then
mean,
it's
School
kind
should
of,
be telling them that.
I'm just saying in terms of like, where they're saying no tank tops, no this.
Laura, you're not allowed your color.
Get out of the building.
Oh, wait, my
I
roots are
know,
showing.
I know.
I gotta leave.
This is totally my natural hair.
That's fine.
And most
You-
of the changes in here are really for the coordinated program review, to make sure that
Okay.
all the
I'm just sensitive to those things because I feel like they're always at the females and they make the females feel like they're a distraction. And that just rubs me the wrong way. And then like when little kids, I remember reading a thing about a little kindergartner getting sent home or something. And she just, like the kids don't see that stuff, you know, they're sexualizing it, like no, we don't want to see anything.
But it doesn't say females.
What's that?
It
No,
doesn't
it
say
doesn't say
females.
females.
No, I know, but that's usually what
What
it's,
it's geared to.
what it's
But-
geared to. And then
Which I-
especially when you get to
I understand
middle
that.
school, you're gonna see it.
So now you're gonna have a male dress code paragraph and a female
No,
dress
no,
code
no,
paragraph?
no, I'm just saying that who cares if someone wears a tank top? Like I said, if they come in with their Celtics jersey, it's a tank top.
Yeah, well,
Just be like,
I mean, tank tops are unisex, but I understand your point.
I think we just want to update it so
Yeah.
it's more appropriate
More
for all of our students and really just our intention. So we are kind of wordsmithing and tweaking and talking with some of our staff members.
oh, don't go there.
So I have hard copies here, if you'd like.
Thank you.
And again, we can vote the school lunch price next month, or we can today, either way, but that is something we really need information on.
But it's not gonna take effect until the fall, right?
That's correct.
So then we might as well just wait for the whole handbook together.
That's fine, but the school, the lunch price would have to be
Has to
separate.
happen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Has to be separate vote.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, it would be in there, but I believe it technically has to be voted by the school.
Okay.
Because you're in charge of that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, I guess it has to happen regardless. We just do
real
the
quick.
lunch vote now.
It was
get it
two,
over
say
with.
292, so it's either 295
We're
or
gonna
3.
go to 3.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because it's silly to go.
but the
4
mandate is
cents.
292.
Yes, 292 is required.
Need a motion?
And do
Yeah,
they
we get-
reassess it every year? Like, is it
It's,
better than?
there's a price equity tool that has to be done every year. The main concern is next year Halifax is due for their audit, so we definitely need to be in compliance for that.
But they
The
might-
year after will go up to 296 or 2, I think it was 296.
Right, it goes in small increments, so if you do the $3, then
It
it
gets
gets.
buy it
it's
in
a
time.
couple years.
Go buy it.
It takes us with
Okay.
inflation, basically.
Something like that. I actually am not 100% sure how they.
It sounds like it.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that's what.
But it's somehow tied to the amount the government pays us for free reduced lunch, it's the reimbursement rate, so, and they make a decision based on the cost of food, and it says Urban National. I'm not 100% sure, I haven't gotten the time to actually sit down and figure out the formula, but.
Oh, come on, Joy.
I'm sure there's a white paper that you could fall asleep
I'm
with
sure
somewhere.
there is, I'm sure there is.
All right,
I'll
make a
add that to
move.
my reading.
I make a motion to increase the lunch cost from 280
I believe it's 280.
to a $3 effective the fall of 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Alex.
Oh my God, I just signed my maiden name.
Wow.
Really? It's recycled. I did it right.
So before we move on to the financial report, Linda, do you have a youth and rec update?
I'm sorry, no, I called him early this morning. I'm sorry, it's Mike, and call me by 6, and he didn't.
Okay,
It's
that's
my
fine.
bad. I had a crazy weekend, and I should have called him Sunday, but I didn't.
That's okay.
But it's like, things like the dances and stuff, is that on the school website, or do you guys send that out when there's a dance? Like, how does he get the information out to the 5th graders if they're having a dance?
Good question.
Good question. They all just end up talking about it.
Just word on the street.
Somehow, a flyer usually goes home at some point, I
Youth
think,
and Rec
right?
has a Facebook page.
No, it doesn't come through us.
But they still stand on opposite sides of the gym.
Oh, stop, Dawn. With their dress code appropriate.
Natural hair.
Yeah, I apologize. Dropped the ball.
No, that's fine. No big
Maybe
deal.
watch Hope on.
They do have a Facebook page, but I don't think it's updated for her. I'm not sure.
No, not when last I looked. No.
Okay. call Ms. Healy. Would you like to give us our financial report?
I would be more than delighted.
Exactly what she was
Really looking forward to it.
Well, we're on the last quarter of the year, and we're doing okay right now, it's looking okay. We're constantly looking at our budget to see how things are going, if we're gonna make it to the end of the year, and it appears that we will make it to the end of the year. Yay. Just a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention that have changed since last month. On the first page of the detail of the financial, about 3/4 of the way down the page is a deficit of $454. That's in the workshop account. We were running a deficit earlier in the year, but this is where we are right now after everything that you've seen on the warrant tonight. The next item I wanted to bring to your attention that has changed is on page 3 of the detail. About 2/3 of the way down the page under contracted services. That deficit that we were projecting last month of $31,798 has risen slightly to $34,000. Even with that, we believe that we'll be able to absorb that within the budget, so it should be okay. The deficit, next account is special education transportation, that we were projecting a deficit last month of $8,300, and it's decreased to $3,600, so that's making me feel better. And then under tuition, although you see a deficit there, once we apply all of our circuit breaker when it comes in, we will be having a surplus this year. And other than that, the financial state, pretty much constant.
That's good.
Any questions? Let me know if you.
Oh, wait, never mind. All right, Ms. Crowe?
So this month, there has been a strong focus on coordinated program review, examining documents, and making sure that they meet the requirements of the state, and collecting documentation from each of our schools, which has resulted in some of the changes to the handbook, required regulation language, protected categories, for example, disciplinary regulations that need to be updated, things like that. One of the things that the curriculum coordinators have been working on is a survey instrument to be used annually, not just for the adoption of textbooks or curriculum materials, but on a regular basis to look at materials in order to detect bias and stereotyping in curriculum. So that's a tool that we are required to have, and something that we should be examining regularly to make sure that if in fact we find there is a bias in our materials, how will we counteract that? How will we, for example, portray more women in math or science as opposed to more traditional textbooks that may only portray males in it? So that's something that the coordinated program review encourages us to do, it requires us to do, and it's important for us to do on a regular basis to make sure that we are counteracting some of those harmful stereotypes that can occur. Then we have set a date for our administrative retreat, and our administrators will meet on June 26th and 27th at the high school, and then again on August 22nd. Retreat is kind of a misnomer. It's really a working session where we all get
I was like, oh, you guys are going on vacation.
Yeah, we're going to But I'm sure we will have a lot of fun working together and planning for next year. Of course. Those dates are on our calendar. The Professional Development Council, we reviewed the February survey results. We're beginning to work on our FY19 professional development schedule, and we were disappointed with the number of results we had at the last survey. So the recommendation from the team was to give the survey, give people time within the last few minutes of the day to complete the survey to maybe help boost the numbers, because we want to make sure that we're hearing from enough people. It's hard when you only get a handful of people responding to a survey to move forward, to consider those recommendations, but it's difficult to make sweeping generalizations when you have a minority of respondents. So and that's one of the recommendations we had. The spring newsletter was distributed in April. And then there was a mental health and social, SEL, social emotional learning, thank you. It's only Monday, you sound like me.
Where people from around the state gathered to discuss and share their initiatives, but also a wide variety of resources was made available to us. Members from the PD Council were invited to attend, and Rich Kelly extended an invitation to our school. He currently works with the Mass Association. of school superintendents and athletic directors, and so he extended that to all of our community council to attend if they wanted to, which was very generous of him, and thank him for that. What we focused on was everyday classroom practices for social emotional learning in schools. We also did mental health and trauma and several other resources there. So we have some materials that we're sharing with our school principals as they relate. Some of them are very secondary related to, like, not everything applied to elementary or vice versa. So we're distributing those materials to the areas that we think are best, but it also gives the council an opportunity to see what other schools may be doing and what may apply and may work well here. So. Any questions for me?
No, I just wanted to point out, I brought my daughters to that STEM Expo that was at the high
Oh,
school.
yes.
It was great. They did a great job. I was so impressed with the kids at that age,
Scott,
the things that they could
and the
do.
kids were
And the teachers
great.
were awesome and so enthusiastic about it, and it was great. My kids loved it.
It was
so.
a nice showing.
Yeah, we saw Mrs. Whitney there, and that was great. She was seeing some of her old students all grown up.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And so, yeah, it was great. We had a great time.
Yeah,
It was
we're
wonderful.
really building the program.
Yeah, absolutely. And we loved the robotics and all that. It was awesome.
It's
So
nice to see younger
Yeah.
students also.
Yes,
Seeing
yeah.
younger students.
I had one very interested in it, so I'm like, let's go do that. And they loved it. It was cool. They had the one with, I don't know if you went to it or saw it, but they had the little like robots that were moving, and then you could use your own phone, your own cell phone. You downloaded this free app, and then you could control it right from there. It was really cool. So of course that we spent a half hour with that alone. And the guy who was running it, I don't know any of their names, and I apologize, but they were all so helpful and wonderful, and they were so great with the little kids.
So Scott Farrell helped to organize it, but it's actually a number of the science teachers
Yeah.
who work with the students and
Absolutely.
help to organize it.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is just one.
Yes, which is all the cafeteria stuff.
We only need 3 signatures.
Yep.
Thank you. So I finally had a chance to try and put together a draft meeting schedule. It's in your packet.
Just one.
Yep.
Yep.
So what we did was we put all the meetings on one page so you can sort of get a sense of the impact of one meeting versus another. So by moving them to, or attempting to move them to a 6-week cycle, pull off some of the other ones. So it's kind of an intriguing exercise to do. So what I did was we went every 6 weeks for September, October, December. But we then went to every month during budget season for all 4 committees, because I just don't see how we can avoid doing that. I just think it's sort of a requirement. And then obviously we can call additional ones as needed. But we went every 6 weeks, and then every month for January, February, March, and April, and then try to swing back to May being sort of the last of the school year, and then July for our closeout. So spreading it out a little bit. It does throw off things a little bit, but we kept to the nights. So Halifax remains on a Monday night, but it is spread out differently. If you want to just take it, it takes a little while to digest, and I have to tell you, it really is a puzzle to try to keep the meeting. So it's not always the first Monday of the month, okay? And I don't know if that will work for people or not. But this is, I believe, a reasonable first attempt. Bob and I have been talking about this a lot. Bob's already put in some effort. What was important, though, was you have to look at all 4, well, 5 technically, if you count the joint meetings simultaneously to make this work. So that was sort of the key. What I basically did was I used the schedule that Old Rochester had put together and used that as a model and sort of built out for the fall and the spring, but again, kept every month for the budgets. So we're not voting it right now, just give you a little time to digest it. And I don't know if you'll like the idea or not, but you know, again, it's food for thought. Anyway, there definitely seemed to be a lot of interest from all the committees about the idea of a few less meetings.
I like that we're all spending Valentine's Day together.
I know, how special is that? I love that. So again, obviously the joint can change pretty dramatically. We're trying to figure out a way of having the meeting so that we can vote the budgets when we're, like, for the public budget hearing for Silver Lake. So that's sort of why we're working around that. But again, I'm not sure what good turnout we'll have for February 14th, so we'll see how it goes. But this is the first attempt. Definitely open for feedback for it. Let's see what else.
Can I say one thing about it?
Sure.
Like, for me personally, I can't, it's hard for me to do the second Monday of the month.
Okay,
And the only one that really has is the May 13th one, so
okay,
this would work great for me.
okay.
So, yeah, that works out nicely. Because that October 15th, I looked, that's actually the third Monday, so.
Okay.
That works great. So my husband just has a little late meeting, the second Monday of the month, so. But, yeah,
Okay.
most of them are the first, but, yeah.
Yeah, we, as I said, it's kind of a process to figure it out. Again, if you do it in isolation, it doesn't seem so bad, but when you try to work in all
All
four
four, yeah.
simultaneously,
Can
it got interesting pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had mostly the same dates that you had,
Right.
although I had no December meeting and no March meeting on mine.
Right. Again, I'm very open, you know, whatever everyone wants to do, I'm perfectly
Well,
happy.
you
to talk a few
you
minutes.
still have mine.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So, you know, you can look at it and see what you think, if it makes sense, and if you think it's enough. You know, December is sort of our last meeting for you to let me know if there's anything particularly you want for the budget. January, we'll actually present the budget.
6, 7, 8,
So-
yeah, that comes out to 9.
Which is-
Mine had 8, so that's
We're
good.
pretty close, yeah. Right. And again, 9's obviously better than 11, so.
Yeah.
And we probably don't want to go to the 7-week schedule because that ended up with 7 meetings and that would kind of be a mess.
It gets complicated, and again, if we decide to vote this, yeah, it really does. If we decide to vote this, we will need the committee to vote 8 persons to be able to sign the warrants. Usually it's the chair.
Yeah.
Because the warrants, for whatever reason, people still like to be paid monthly. I know it's kind of silly, but they really do. So, and we already do this in Plimpton. They nominated the chair, so whenever we have a stray warrant, or for whatever reason we don't
So we
need.
can do that as an either or. So the full
Yes,
committee
exactly.
signs them, but when the full committee isn't in,
Right.
then we just do the single.
Yes,
Okay.
yep, exactly.
I also nominate the chair.
So,
I was going to volunteer.
Next month,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
go right ahead.
but
All of a sudden, I smell a nomination.
Weird how that worked out.
I was going to volunteer, I could just put the thing on pause.
there you go.
Perfect.
So anyway, again, just some food for thought, but take a little time to look it over. We don't need to vote this until, I guess actually we usually vote this June probably.
Is our meeting schedule in the handbook?
No,
No.
it's on the websites. We don't open it.
Yeah, I didn't know it was.
No, I don't, I'm almost positive it's not, because we've changed dates and that and
Yeah.
everything, so
Okay.
it'd be too easy to mess that one up. I think we already went through the update on the building projects. Again, the big news is we will not be doing the fire suppression system this summer. In many ways, maybe a blessing. Trying to do both of them simultaneously was really actually kind of overwhelming to think of how we were also going to clean the school and get it open. So this will hopefully work out.
And I just wanted to briefly say that my only concern with not doing the fire suppression, well, one of the concerns that I had was we had talked about doing the fiber optic cables while the ceiling tiles were down. So I asked Steve Pello if that still was going to take place, and that part of the project is still going to happen. And then when they do the fire suppression, it shouldn't affect any of the wiring or anything that's going on up there, because it definitely needs to be done, especially if we're going to keep moving forward with this technology initiative. So that's all.
Let's see, budget discussion. So town meeting is next Monday, and hopefully the budget will go through as presented. We will need to take a new vote for our budget for the adult vocational. We had a student apply at the last minute. We do not know if the student got in or not, but the town preferred to have the money in the budget just in case. So the town voted and is on the warrant $30,000 more than we voted. So we would like to take a new vote. I think Summer might have the motion, so that our number is the same as the town meeting number.
And I do want to say that the finance committee did recommend our budget as we presented it, so
Great.
shouldn't have any conflict on.
And so
on the
including
floor.
this 30,000?
Yes, it was their idea, actually.
To include that, oh,
Yes.
just in case?
Yeah,
Okay.
better to have it there
And
and
then
not
not,
need
yeah.
it, but we probably may need it, you know, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So I move that the Halifax School Committee approve the 2018-2019 elementary out-of-district vocational education budget of $244,719.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. So now our numbers agree with the town meeting warrant, always a good idea.
Christine, can I, actually, do you have all of these numbers handy? Can you fill this out for me and I can bring it to town meeting? So I have, because I usually make the motion, right?
Well, usually it's in the.
It's
in the warrant.
Oh, the numbers are printed in the,
And
okay.
Yeah, and unless somebody holds it.
Is this number printed in the warrant? Do you
Yes.
happen to see? Okay, okay,
I checked mine.
okay. All right, thank you. So then I'll just read it out of there.
Yes. And by the way, I have posted it as a school committee meeting if for some reason we need to have a meeting and make a discussion or a vote.
Great,
If something
thank you.
comes up, so it is posted as a meeting if we had to have a meeting or discussion during it. Update on safety discussion. So Summer had done a great job and reached out about meeting with Chief Broderick and the Selectmen and Finance Committee about safety in the building, and Kane and myself. And just to talk about, did we feel the school was safe? What was our coverage in terms of police officers? And we held a meeting on April 30th, I think, in Town Hall.
Yep.
And it was a posted meeting, and there are minutes in your packet at the very back. I actually tried my best, Linda. She does a nice job. I'm gonna miss you for that one, I'll tell you that. So it was a reasonably short meeting, about a half hour, 45 minutes. The chief talked a little bit about the coverage that he's able to provide. Officer Schleif is here in the mornings and in the afternoon, 5 days a week, and also stops by and does walkthroughs in the building a few times a week. He is not considered a school resource officer. He's not, his only duty is not being here, but he is here at least twice a day and sometimes 3 times a day. Also, whenever Kane or Brian need support or questions, very much available. The chief has been wonderful about providing that extra time for us. Most elementary schools do not have a school resource officer. Usually school resource officers are a secondary figure? Position, yeah, I'm not sure what quite the word is, but usually they are housed in secondary schools. So we talked a little bit about, well, was there a need to provide additional resources? And the feeling generally was that we really felt that there was, and Kane spoke to it also, that we really felt that we have a great relationship with the police. Him being here in the mornings and the afternoons are 2 pretty critical times. And he's been wonderful with that, and also whenever we need him, and as available, has been walking through. So I think we all felt better about the resources and what we're doing, and really have been very active with us in terms of our ALICE training and continuing to support what we're doing within the schools. We then talked just a little bit about the secondary level when it came up. That's really normally where that position is. Kingston, the town of Kingston has funded, it's not part of our budget, they volunteered to do this 4 or 5 years ago. I still have not remembered to look up when it happened, but it was somewhere in the neck of the woods. 50% of a police officer that is actually housed in our building for 50% of his job. And it's strictly funded out of the Kingston Police Department's budget. It's not within Silver Lake. He's been wonderful. His name's Craig Marshall. He's great, really does a wonderful job with the kids. But with only 50% of the time, he's mostly only in the high school. I mean, he'll go to the middle school if needed, but there really isn't quite enough time to sort of provide coverage at both buildings. We talked a little bit about whether or not Halifax would have any interest, interest may not be the right word, would have the ability to try to provide support on the secondary level. There's some question, concern I guess, confusion because the buildings are housed in Kingston, there's a jurisdiction issue. So because they're in Kingston, it would need to come through the Kingston Police Department, because otherwise you'd be taking a Kingston police officer's position/job, because it's within their town lines. So I did talk with the chief of police in Kingston, as I mentioned I would, and we did sort of confirm that that would be the normal protocol. So at some point, maybe next year, I would love to talk about trying to add to Silver Lake. And again, Kingston has been wonderful about funding it. It isn't that they only help Kingston children, obviously. Halifax and Plimpton students have also been supported by the position. So we would love to see if the other towns would be willing to, hopefully get the position to maybe a full-time and how that might happen. But it is a position that's outside of the Silver Lake budget, and that is reasonably normal. I did connect with some of the school systems, and normally it stays within the police department's budget. So that would have to be the sort of funding mechanism. Was that for summer?
That was great. I was just going to mention that I don't know if you mentioned it when I stepped away, that there's like an increased need for the presence in the middle school even. That's not necessarily just a high school issue. So if, we get to a financial point where we can help fund that position, it would give, I forget the officer's name, that's the high school, would give him, some leeway to spend a little bit of time at the middle school also. Or have a separate person, however it works out. But I do think it's necessary. I'm glad that we just got everybody together to have the conversation and hear the chief's perspective on it, because it honestly opened my eyes a little bit too, and it made me feel more comfortable, now that we have taken other security measures like the cameras and keep fabbing doors and different things like that. And just, we all want to know our little cupcakes are safe,
And the main issue on the secondary level that we've been discussing, and is unfortunately filtering down to the middle school, is vaping. Has been the main concern, and in the bathroom. So we've had to change a lot of protocols, but it has really become more of an issue, and it's a huge impact on students' health that I just don't think they realize. And the companies are making it look definitely marketing to the
I don't
kids.
think anything's changed,
Well, no.
just what you use.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So, but it's definitely pretty rampant.
We were talking about that, how
Yeah.
like we used to always smoke butts in the bathroom,
Yeah.
or other people were doing it when we were in high school.
I was just
Now
trying to
we're-
go to the bathroom.
Yeah, I heard it was happening.
We had a designated area, you could just go up by the cafeteria.
But if the minutes are okay, for those
Yeah.
of you that were here, we can maybe vote those.
I have a quick
Put that
question.
in.
Yes.
Does the school still share radio frequencies with the police department too?
Yes.
Yes.
That was also part of the discussion, is like, we felt, also very comfortable that the police station is, we can
Oh,
throw
yeah.
a rock and hit it, and we're really lucky to be in a town where everything's like kind of compacted right here, because in some other towns it's not the case, and it takes,
I think we have a really good relationship.
That's
With the
key.
chief, but I think even the chief just designates Mike as
Yes.
the go
Yeah.
person, whether it's checking on students, checking on a family, checking on residency.
Yep.
It's just that quick text, and he's there today, we met with him today.
Yeah.
We had a couple of questions of the weekend incident, and he's there all the time, so I think the relationship keeps going, so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, we're very lucky in all three towns.
Yeah, we are.
We're very lucky.
But he also felt like we were doing the best we could.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
was confident.
Yeah, no, we,
Chief supporter.
yeah, very, very supportive. So, as I said, and I think, we've had a very good relationship with the police. We meet monthly with all the police chiefs, and, I text them quite regularly. So, it's a good meeting. It's a good
So
meeting.
I asked for the executive session to be on the agenda, just in case we had some more questions or dialogue that needed to take place regarding safety and security in the building. I can't take place in public forum, but it's up to you guys. Like, I don't know whether or not you feel like we need to have that. I just wanted to make sure it was there in case we decided that that was something that we needed to do. Because we can't do it if it's not there, but we don't have to do it if it is there.
No, I mean, pretty cut and dry it seems.
Okay.
That all the important players seem to think that we're doing the best we can, so. I'm comfortable with that.
Right. I think the meeting was a great idea. You know,
Yep.
Summer had come up with the idea, and I think it was good to have the meeting and, you know, all be in the room at the same time, and it did go very well, so.
Yeah.
It was helpful.
Okay, so if we're all comfortable with that, then we'll wrap this up.
Can we just go through the minutes?
Oh, absolutely, I'm sorry, yes. Care to make a motion?
Motion to accept the Halifax School Committee meeting minutes from Monday, April 30th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And then one last thing, I would like, I know, sorry, I can't say it without. Where's Martha?
Yes.
I'd like to recognize Linda
Oh,
for her.
Before we all start crying.
that's, I see. The survey, did we talk about that at all?
Oh, you know what, we did it,
I don't know if it's
we
the same survey, that's why I didn't want to interrupt you, but I have a hard time hearing what she says.
skipped. No, because back in the beginning of the agenda is probably, yeah, before you came in is probably where we would have brought it up. So if you want to have the floor for a minute, we did not talk about it.
Oh, okay. No, I was concerned about it, again, my issues are the survey, and I just got a reply back, so excuse me, I'm gonna get in front of me, so I say it right. I reached out to say, what's this, they changed the name of it. Is this the same survey? What's going on? Oh, you just.
Who'd you reach out to? I don't know.
Department of Education. sorry.
Okay.
I got it. So they called it something different last year. So I was reaching out, are we doing the surveys? Yes, it's she gave me a link. And I said, well, no, that's last year's survey. Can we have this year's survey? And she, oh, sorry. And she sent it to me. She sent me some, just one example is like, my teachers support me even when my work is not my best. These are the type of questions. And they take about 15 or 20 minutes after the math MCAS or science, one of those two.
After the science, 5th grade.
Science, okay, yeah.
For fifth
Oh, yeah,
graders.
it's 5th grade only.
Yeah.
It's also in 8th grade and 10th grade. And they've given out surveys for years, but they used to just be how much time do you spend on homework,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But now they're getting into social emotional learning questions. And one of my issues too is, you know, where's this going? How is it, like, is it gonna ever affect the school? Like right now they're saying it's anonymous. Well, you know,
This
who's
is-
getting the information, all this stuff, like what's the purpose? How is it gonna help our kids?
Was this the voluntary survey that we elected, or that you guys
Yes.
elected not to distribute last year?
Last year, yes.
Right, and so they changed the name of it, but it's essentially the same survey. So the thing that I asked, how do we know if it's anonymous, if it's right after MCAS, because on the computer? And then, you know, technology, who knows? The records that come to the state from the surveys are not anonymous, and we do not claim that it is. The survey responses are linked to the state unique student identifier so that we can better understand which types of students report experience stronger and weaker school climates. However, the districts and schools do not receive any additional student data from the surveys. They only get school and district level aggregate reports where individual responses are not identifiable. We suppress the data on district and school reports if fewer than 10, you know, obviously if they don't get enough people, they don't do it. And then I said, why doesn't the department instruct, because last year they didn't instruct anybody to, how do we tell the parents? And they didn't tell the administration to instruct the parents. So
But
I just thought,
I thought that was the purpose of the discussion at the committee meeting.
that was the two reasons, for me.
Okay,
And
okay.
maybe other people know, but for me, I had a couple issues with it.
Mhm.
And I asked why don't they do that? And she said, in our principals and administration manual, we recommend that principals meet with parents and guardians before testing to explain testing procedures, schedules, participation requirements, and the questionnaire. We also remind test administrators and district school leaders about it through updates through the Student Assessment Services and Commissioner's Office. Ultimately, it's up to the schools and districts to determine how to best communicate with their families about the tests and questionnaires. Did you get a principal administrator's manual that told you that you recommend that you, is this news to you?
We get a manual,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Does it say anything about the survey?
I have to double check on it. As far as I know, we've never done a survey here, and I'm not
Right.
aware of anyone else that's doing it.
Right. So my thought is, like I said, I think it would be great to send a survey to our parents and ask them questions. I don't like doing an anonymous report that we don't know how it's going to directly affect our children. And I don't like the fact that they're doing this without telling these people to tell our students. If I wasn't bringing this up, we would have just given it out and parents wouldn't have known. And I know if I was a parent, I'd be ticked off if I knew that my kid was given that.
Well-
So plus, they're spending all that time doing MCAS, and now they're gonna spend another 15, 20 minutes and trying to decide, does my teacher support me even when I don't give my best effort? Number one, my kid would be like, I always give my best effort. Well, 10 years old, you know?
Did we vote against the survey last year?
Yeah.
Well, that's coming after
In
that.
my opinion at the time, and I'll voice it now, is if that survey can convince one student that is so bullied and beaten down to say, I need to talk to somebody, yes, I really don't feel safe in my school, and it saves one person, I'm absolutely fine with it.
But it's just we're just gonna know that there's one kid bullied in the school.
No, you said it attaches to their student identifier.
No, but she also said it comes back as aggregate data. It doesn't come back and say Sally,
Well,
Jane.
to the school level, but I guess my point is that I would think that there's some level of monitoring going on where if they get graded, monitored, scaled, curved somehow, I don't know. I'm not okay with shooting down. I understand what you're saying. They're sitting through a long test already. If a kid is to the point where they're not safe in this school, then I would absolutely want Brian and Katie to know it.
But I
But
would
Brian
rather
and Kate
have
aren't gonna know it.
But they're going to get a report back that says there are kids that don't feel safe in this school.
But I would rather have them have a survey from our kids that only they get and not through the state. You know what I mean? Take the state out of it and keep it in-house so he knows that there's a third grader. Because right now this is just fifth grade anyway.
No, I get
So I
it.
would rather get it to the whole school, maybe send it to parents that they could be anonymous or not. The parents can include the children. Do you feel like you're bullied? Or the parent, it's up to the parent. Again, it's just,
Yeah,
they
I
kind
don't
of
know.
overshoot the parents.
We can ask what you guys think about it.
I mean, school council, we send one every 2 years, a survey. It's more for parents, but it does kind of address those needs and
It's every 2 years.
every 2 years. Yeah.
What do you guys think about the fifth grade survey? Is it something you would like to do? And would you like the information back? I mean,
I think it would be helpful. I think, like Alex said, if you have one kid that really responds and has
But wouldn't
feedback.
they be involved with that other survey that you were talking about?
Well, that's, we don't send it to students, that's more for
That's the
parents.
parents.
Is it still able, I think last year, and I'm going off memory obviously, but last year, you had the ability to let the parents decide whether they wanted their kids to take it or not.
well, the kids don't have to do it. The kid can just
Right,
opt
right,
not to do it.
but
Yeah,
last
but
year
what
when-
10-year-old is going to say, I'm not taking this?
Oh, mine absolutely would.
Oh, yeah,
You would be surprised.
I feel
But
bad
are they
saying
told that that's an option? And then the middle school and high school decided not to give it either.
Well, no, I'm not saying don't, let me be clear. I think that any information that even the state, and I'm a big proponent of not letting government manage everything, but I'm a big proponent that any information we can get from the kids is information, every day my kids, how's school? Fine, what'd you do? Learn. Every day. So if there's any survey, and I would let my kids decide, last year it said, well, you can let the parents, whether or not the kids want to take it or not. I'll say to them, hey, if you had a long testing day and you want to take it, don't take it. If you get halfway through it and you decide, these questions are dumb, shut it off. But
You
if,
did say it comes up one question at a time online.
I had parents, one parent specifically, that reached out to me that was upset that the committee decided to not even broach the subject and give the parents the option. They said, wait, so the state that manages the schools is saying, we have a survey that can collect useful data to make sure our kids feel safer in their school, and the school committee elected not to have our kids take that?
And it's also, a lot of the facts behind it were kind of muddy too.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
Stuff was going.
I think it's a win-win for us. If it comes back and everyone feels safe, then great.
Right.
If not, then
What if not? What
there
if
are
they
issues
use
that need
it,
to
what if they
address.
use it to penalize the school?
Right, but as of right now, they're saying, and I know you said maybe in the future they might, but as of right now, they're telling you they're not.
Wait, how would they penalize the school?
Like, it's not tied to.
No offense to Kane and
any
Ryan, but if the
data.
report comes back and most of the classes here don't feel safe, I mean,
The state's the last thing he's going.
yeah.
Right.
But I'm not not trying to
I
make a
just
joke,
wish it
but
was in-house. I just
Yeah.
wish it was in-house and not through that.
I'm okay.
Do you have something to say, Bob?
I do, okay. Do the teachers speak to the children, at least at the beginning of the year, or maybe a couple of times during the year, to tell them if they have a problem, they can meet with the teacher privately?
Absolutely.
All right, so that's, I would think,
Daily.
yeah, okay, well, that's,
Right.
Can I say-
thinking back to being a student, that would have been the best thing that I wanted to be able to do, was to go and speak to the teacher during lunch or something, that there was a problem.
I mean, that is 100%, just like Brian said, it's good teaching.
Yeah.
I
And
think
we have
that's
an adjustment counselor here full-time that is always available. You can leave a note right on her door, and then you can go talk to her.
Do you feel like, this is a rhetorical question, but do you feel like the students in this building are comfortable enough doing that? Like, do you have students that reach out to the teachers and feel comfortable talking to them? And do you have students that go to the adjustment counselor and use that facility as like a safe place for them to express themselves?
And us, yeah.
Mine do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
My daughter has met with her teacher privately and the adjustment counselor.
So-
And I think every student is encouraged to have a safe adult in the building.
Right,
Whether it
right.
be, some kids come to Brian and I, some would go to the nurse, some would go to the adjustment counselor, or their classroom teacher. So it really is something that we kind of.
Or
make
another
sure
kid and the
that-
other kid paddles, because that's what kids do, yeah. So to Bob's, I think your point is that that's, who needs the survey if we have an environment that
Well,
children feel comfortable enough?
Exactly. To me, that seems like the most effective means
Yes.
to express discomfort.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that, but I also agree with what Alex is saying,
Yeah.
which is that what if there is that one kid who doesn't feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Or 10 kids that don't feel comfortable, or whatever. And one of the things I want to say, because I did a lot of research on this as well, since I administer the 7th grade MCAS, we don't give a survey. But my 8th grade students obviously take it. One of the things I really liked about it was that the questions that are about school climate were developed by a group of 150 students from the state of Massachusetts
Oh, that's cool.
that sat together, and they all worked together, and they came up with what are the best questions to ask kids our age about the school climate.
How do you, as a teacher, feel about the question, my teacher knows their subject matter?
I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that, because I know nothing is going to come back to me
No, I
personally.
know, but how does a 10th grader know chemistry?
Oh, absolutely, and that's the thing, though, but some of the questions, and that's the thing, you have to look at it with a grain of salt, and I know that the state would do the same thing. The state looks at the MCAS testing as very black and white. Did you get this question right? Did you get this question wrong? When it comes to a survey of questions about things like that, they take it the way they take it, which is, very with a grain of salt, like I said, because like you said, what 10th grader knows whether or not their teacher knows everything about their subject, that kind of thing. But there's nowhere in there that has ever said that they're ever going to then take that and go back and say, you know what, Mrs. Vance, you had a student who said you don't know how to teach 7th grade math. That's not something that they're going to do. That's not something they could do. And if they ever try to do that, do you think a group of people like this would ever allow that? No.
But I think this
So-
data privacy that's happening now that we don't know about.
But when you log in with that, not with your specific number, that's the same information that you log in with MCAS. So they're not getting any other information about your child, my child, his child, because it's the same information that they get when they have to take the MCAS. So when they type that number in, all the information that's there about them is the same number they type in, it's the same information.
I'm no tech wizard, so I can't argue that at all.
No, I'm not saying that.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, no, but it's just a number. Every kid gets a number and a password, and that's number specific to them. So whatever information is tied to that, their name, their sex, their gender, whatever, it's the same information that goes with the survey. They don't retype things in. They don't type in my name. They don't type in the child's name. They don't type in their address or what their teachers' names are, or anything like that. It's literally just the same number and password, and then they answer the 20 questions, and then that's it.
So I think that if were you planning on giving the survey? I guess let's start with that question. Were you planning on giving the survey? Is the survey come up automatically when they finish the 5th grade math, science
I
MCAS?
believe they have to sign out, re-log in for the survey. if I'm correct.
We haven't done it, so we didn't do it last year, so I guess so.
If
But
we-
they haven't given you instructions yet.
How did you opt out of it last year?
We just
We
voted.
just didn't do it.
No, but I guess my point is,
They just don't re-log in.
but you guys didn't make any conscious effort to say to the teachers administering the test, make sure they don't click next when they get to step 100.
We just ignored it. It's-
I
When you
think-
click submit, then it almost like logs you out of the
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there would probably still be a piece up there that would say survey, and you'd have to click survey, re-log in, and do
Yeah, so
that.
I'm wondering, like, say we weren't involved in the conversation, who would make the choice to have the kids relog back in? Would you guys say, hey, there's this survey, what the heck, have the kids click on it and take it?
Well, the Commonwealth said that Kane and Brian would have already sat down with all the parents, so everybody would have already known about it.
Clearly didn't happen.
No, that came out wrong. I was trying.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's.
Good.
No, I'm just
They had a-
wondering, is it the classroom teacher that says, oh, by the way, there's this survey option, should we just have the kids do it? And I don't mean to make light of it, I just mean like literally, how does that process go?
Well, there's a teacher's manual, there's a principal's administrative manual, there's a teacher's manual, and I'm assuming, I haven't seen it this year, but I assume the teacher's manual has the login, well, actually, you've seen it.
Yep. I've seen the 8th grade one.
Yeah, okay, so there's a teacher's manual that goes through the steps, it tells them exactly what to say, it's dictated, it goes through it, so I'm sure the directions.
So at some
are
point in the
that
directions,
manual.
it says,
Yep,
if your student would like to take this survey,
Yes.
here's, do this now.
Yes.
yep. And
Okay.
it'll tell them exactly how to do it, how to log in,
Right.
and then it goes through a whole spiel to the kids, like, this is just something that the state would like to know about. You can answer the questions as freely as you want.
Right.
It's anonymous in the sense that it's not tied to you specifically. Your school will get a report as a whole,
Like,
not
the kids
like.
probably don't even.
They probably don't listen to that, but
Right.
if there is anybody listening to the part about like, okay, well, I'm not gonna write anything bad about Mr. Beaudry
Right.
because he's gonna know that Allison
Right.
Vance said blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So hopefully they at least listen to that part that says, your specific name is not tied to your responses. It's just gonna give the school an entire envelope, encapsulate everything that the whole school is saying.
So I guess my point is, I'm wondering, do we even need to be having this discussion, because are we giving the survey or not, number one? And if it was already decided that we are giving the survey, my personal opinion is that if we as a committee say, green light the survey, that the parents need to be notified that this is a possibility, that it's gonna happen, like email blast all the 5th grade parents and say, just want to give you a heads up, there's this survey, blah, blah, blah. But I don't even know if you were even intending on giving it anyway. So if that's the case, if you weren't and your 5th grade teachers are not intending on giving it just for whatever reason, then the conversation's over. We don't need to vote on it as a committee and demand that we just absolutely not give it to our kids, because there seems to be strong feelings both ways.
Well, just to add to that, I think that you should have to opt into something like this and not opt out of it, because there are gonna be people
Well,
that. and
so
you
which
know,
is the
You
point-
send emails out.
Which is the point
And 70%
of
the people
saying.
read my emails, so there's 30% of the people that aren't even gonna read it.
Well, those 30% of the parents may just not be involved, and that's their
I'm
problem.
not sure, no,
like-
but I bet there's, well, for me, and I heard I have a good open rate. I have MailChimp, so I know who opens what. And I have a 70% open rate, something that's amazing. And I thought, oh, that's pretty bad. So 30% of my people don't open and don't read stuff. Never mind about the people that are apathetic and don't care. So I'm just saying that I wish it was, you have to opt in, so those people that didn't read it because they were deleting fast, they should have to opt into it so that, you know what I'm saying? So if they miss it, then their kid doesn't take it, as opposed to, you know what I'm saying? Opting in.
Well, there's another thing as well.
Well,
We voted
we
against
still
this
did-
last year, and we never saw it. I would like to see it
I have it
before we
right
voted
here.
on it.
Feel like this, you know?
But I mean, it should be handed out to
Wait,
us.
see the
They don't
the
want
survey?
people to
The
see.
survey, yeah.
I thought last year you couldn't see it.
Couldn't see.
No, it couldn't.
Oh, that's your point, I'm
No,
sorry.
we could see it, I have it, we just couldn't share it to the public.
Yeah, Chrissy.
Oh, yeah, that's right,
Heard it
that's
out.
right, that's right.
Okay.
That's
So, but
Chrissy
back to
printed
my
it out.
original question, were we planning on giving the survey in this building or not? Because if we're not planning on giving it, then we should just end the conversation.
Last year, we took the option out of
Right.
that, so we
All right, that was
didn't give
a good
them
question.
the opportunity.
Okay.
I don't think any of the districts did it last year, did they?
We ended up, not doing it across the board.
Yeah.
Why did the middle school and high school decide against it?
Some of it was timing, just the length of the test. And
Yeah,
it was the
that's a
first
long
year we
test.
did the online science. It was the, we were testing the protocol of online testing for science, which was our first time last year.
Gotcha.
We were a year ahead for doing that. So we ended up opting out. And the thought had been that we would develop an in-house one, which we lost Chrissy and that just didn't happen. So.
Again, I just think if on the computer now, I'd rather have them have recess. But do you want, I mean, we can't read the questions aloud, but if you want to look at them.
We could go into executive session.
You know, again, I guess
Let's go back to
going back
the, yeah, let's go back to the original. So Dennett's not giving it?
We haven't talked about it, no one else has discussed it, it hasn't come up anywhere, no one else was really concerned about it.
Great, so
It's only
that's what I'm
been-
wondering, like, if the conversation doesn't happen, do they or don't they take it? That's just kind of like.
Normally you take what is in the manual.
Right,
That would
I
be
think the
normal
teachers usually
process.
just read right through what it is.
And then they're like,
They're
okay,
instructed
now
not
we're just
to.
gonna take this, unless they're
Right.
instructed not to. Okay.
But I will
that's-
say, in terms of timing, at least I know for the 8th grade one, the second day of science is a lot shorter than all the other sessions, math, ELA, and even the first day of science. It's pretty short, I think probably because they asked them to do that survey afterwards. So my students just took it last Friday, and they finished their session and the survey in the same amount of time they took the whole science one the day before, which was also less than the time it took them to do ELA and math. So I think ELA and math took about 3 periods long. We have about 55-minute periods at my school, so it took about 3 periods long, and the science took 2 periods long. And so including that second day, the science and the survey only took about 2 periods long. So it was a whole 55 minutes, even shorter than the ELA and math from previous.
I don't want to speak for Allison,
No,
but
it's
my last